right, for our next video and Q&A, we have Ioneeyau Casey and the project name is Melwell. So let's hit it.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Thrive Tulsa Impact Showcase. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch our presentations and learn more about our impact projects. I'm excited to share with you guys a little bit more about Melwell, an initiative focused on the wellness of Black people who are commonly underserved and underrepresented by the wellness community. My name is Ioneeyau, and I am a personal advocate of mental wellness and holistic wellness. I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety in 2017, but I didn't begin therapy consistently until 2019. And this is when my research on wellness really began. I shifted my focus from physical wellness to mental wellness. And that's when I realized that those two are connected. When I focus on the wellness of my mind, I saw the positive reaction in my physical body. So you may be asking, what problem is Melwell actually solving? Black people face immense generational and historical trauma. It is important that we know how to heal so we can live well. For generations, our ancestors championed for freedom, justice, and equality. As this fight continues, what is irrefutable is the impact on us physically and mentally years later that has been passed down from generation to generation. Here's some important facts to know. 13.4% of the US identifies as Black or African American. 16% of those have dealt with mental illness in the past year. And Black and African American people are 20% more likely to experience mental health issues than other races. Things like our exposure to violence, whether we're victims or witnesses, really does increase this risk. It's important to understand our history as Black people and how it's affected our mental health and overall wellness. Racism impacts our mental health. Negative stereotypes and attitudes of rejection have adverse consequences. Historical adversity like slavery and race-based exclusion from things like healthcare, educational resources, social and economic resources translates into socioeconomic disparities experienced by Black and African American people today. Socioeconomic status is linked to mental health. People who are impoverished, who are homeless, incarcerated, or have substance abuse issues are at higher risk for poor mental health. Suicidal thoughts, plans, and attempts are also rising among the Black and African American population, specifically in the 18 to 25-year-old demographic. 9.5% of those identifying as Black or African American in that demographic had serious thoughts of suicide in 2018, compared to 6% in 2008. Mello wants to eliminate the stigma and misdiagnosis of mental illness among Black people. Research indicates that many Black and Brown people believe that mild depression or anxiety would be considered crazy in their social circles. We are more often diagnosed with schizophrenia and less often diagnosed with mood disorders compared to white people with the same symptoms. The goal is that Melwell will curate safe and representative spaces for Black people to learn and participate in holistic wellness practices and modalities. Melwell spaces will be inclusive of all races while focused specifically on the livelihood and historic traumas of Black and Brown people. Melwell is an answer, not the only answer. There are many similar initiatives happening all over the country. Melwell wants to close that gap here in the Midwest. So some of the practices that will take place in these spaces are things like meditation, yoga, energy work, group talk, and education on food wellness and different plants and oils. Do you want to get involved? We would love for you to be a part. You can connect with us on Instagram at melanin.well. Email us at melanin.well@gmail.com. If you're a holistic wellness practitioner, an instructor in healing modalities, or if you just have really great ideas that would contribute to this initiative, we would love to continue the conversation. Please get in contact with us. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this presentation, and I really look forward to continuing this conversation.
And another sort of health-based project idea, reminding us of just the constant nature of systemic racism in America and its cost on people.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean,
Impact of trauma
yeah,
and how it can create mental issues, but also can create a stigma around those same mental issues.
yeah. Well, let's bring Ioneeyau in and let's ask this question. Hello.
Hello.
Hi guys. Can you hear me?
Yes,
We
we
can.
can.
Okay,
So,
great.
I mean, I know half of this answer, but I'm gonna ask it anyway, which is, so why this idea and why here?
Well, to not sound repetitive, I suffer from depression and anxiety since 2017 or 20, yeah, about 2017. And, within my circle, within even my own family, the idea of therapy is just like, oh, you're crazy. Something's, nothing, you're not crazy. It's like nothing's wrong with you. You just need to, go to church or something. And so it wasn't until I really found therapy and committed to it, it truly, I tell people it saved my life. And I don't mean that in I'm not over exaggerating. It literally saved my life. And from therapy, I went on to learn about other different healing practices and holistic wellness and different things like that. And so what I've learned from just talking to friends and family is that really as a culture we are not taught about therapy. We're not told to go get help, or it's okay if you're struggling or you're dealing with depression or anxiety and things like that. And so we really battle. And so when I was started to do my research and really looking at the connection and the rise of things like suicide rates and the connection of our historical trauma and dealing with different mental illness, I realized there has to be something, there has to be a change. We need to create a space for people to come in and really learn how to heal themselves in a holistic way in relation to the trauma that we as Black and Brown people experience on a day to day.
So I know a lot of times, with therapy, historically, it has been designed and trained and taught to gear towards, frankly, helping white people, right? And you talked about the diagnosis differentials already. And so what about this wellness program and creating a space specific for Black and Brown people? Why was that important to you and to the success of this program?
Well, while I was in therapy, like I said, I started discovering some other holistic practices. So I would go and do yoga, and here my yoga I'm usually the only Black girl in the room, and then my yoga teacher is saying, "Okay, let's breathe out all the busyness of the day." And it's like, "Hey, I just actually watched an innocent Black man be shot by a police officer. So that's actually what I'm dealing with. That's what's stored in my muscles and my spirit and my chakra. So how can I work that out?" Right. And so for me, it's really curating spaces that doing those same healing practices, meditation, yoga, energy work, those different things, but really focusing it in on what Black and Brown people are experiencing every single day and in relation to our history that has been spiritually just passed down, from generation to generation. And so making it to where we feel comfortable to go into those spaces or being in those spaces and learning about those things because they're relative to our experiences.
Have you found, because there's a stigma around therapy, that there's, on top of the already existing problem of not as many Black or African American doctors in general, that there aren't a lot of Black or African American therapists for people to go to?
For sure. I unfortunately was not able to have a Black therapist. Thankfully, though, my therapist was very well trained in handling the historical traumas of Black and Brown people. So I really lucked up there. But for many people, it's not the case. And so even trying to, I've even kind of curated a list in my notes app for my friends that when they come to me and they say, "Hey, I need therapy," I send them a list of all the Black therapists that I've just been kind of collecting, like a little database, because they are very few and far between. And what I've also found is that majority of them are religious based. They're Christian therapists, and not everyone desires that, right? So where can I just find a Black therapist that can just help me work through the things that I'm dealing with on a day to day as a Black person in America?
Well, how can we as two white goobers help you?
Well, I would love to talk more about Melwell on the podcast, and that'd be great. And just, really sharing some of these facts that maybe a lot of people really don't know. I didn't realize that Black people are more often diagnosed with schizophrenia over mood disorders. That was new to me.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah, so sharing that information in your circles, and if you know of people if you know of Black therapists or Black healing practitioners and things like that, share them with me, and I'd love to, kind of get that out as we create this network.
I mean, like I feel like it's almost like a double stigma, because I feel like there's a general stigma about mental health and getting therapy, and then on top of that, the oppressed groups' feelings like they have to tough their way through everything, and it's very hard to fight through that. So I think that programs like this are an incredibly useful, helpful thing. So
100%. And like I said, there's actually very similar programs happening in other parts of the country. There's a program called Heal House that's in Brooklyn, New York, that I actually discovered about a year ago. And so we just don't have it in the Midwest. And so it's just kind of time for this part of the country to really kind of catch up and really make sure that we are taking care of our Black and brown folks, because we're still, fighting inequality every single day, and it's traumatic. It really is. And so how can we make sure that we're taking care of each other?
Well, thank you again, and I know we flashed up the email address a couple of times so that people can connect to you if they have any resources or ideas. But thank you very much for being on and telling us all about your program. And
Thank you,
hopefully we'll have
guys.
you on our podcast soon.
oh yeah, we'll be in touch.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.